And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Life from the Inside Out with Kris. If you're new here, welcome. We're going to be doing some deep trance channeling with Kris and learning about whatever he has to bring up today. If you're back again for this episode, welcome back. I hope you've been enjoying those. You can leave comments down below. We're periodically able to pick up questions, and we'll bring those to Kris and see what he wants to talk about. And I think Serge mentioned head over to the website. We've got a link to the Channeling Kris website and sign up for the newsletter. You'll get alerts when we're releasing new episodes, as well as alerts about what the episodes are about, to get a sense of what you want to tune into, whatever your interests are. There'll be a little pop up, and you can put your email address in. And I'd love to hear from you that way. So that's about it for housekeeping, Serge.
Yeah. Well, I also several times a week I'll send out quotes from different workshops Kris has given, and announcements about new workshops coming up, and all that kind of nice thing. So if you just go to the website and wait for the little pop up, it comes out from the bottom right. It's a little pop. I think about 5 or 8 seconds into it, it comes up, and just fill it out, and you'll start receiving our email.
Yeah, cool. And that's a great point. The workshops, if you are finding like you want to ask questions or have some direct interaction with Kris, signing up for those workshops are a great way to be able to do that, as well as interacting with like-minded people that are interested in the same things, and to have that regular contact, but be able to drive the discussion a little bit and really explore. So that's an option as well.
Yes, it's actually very nice when people send in questions. It gives the opportunity sometimes for Kris to not veer off topic, but present new topics. And that can also have a cascading effect where other things can develop from it. So it's always welcome. And we
Yes.
eventually do get to them, not all at once, but eventually we work them into the discussions here.
Yes. All right.
So, shall I go?
Yeah. Goodbye, Serge.
If I go to Nanaland, now we trust that you are comfortable,
Yes,
and
Kris.
we thank you for your consideration.
Thanks as well.
But please feel free to begin.
Well, I think Joseph and I had a really interesting conversation, and I was wondering if you might talk about where our dreams and a life experience intersect. Meaning, I guess I'll have to give a little personal information that I was having a dream, and in the midst of the dream, I woke up and there was a false fire alarm going off in our house, and began making connections between the dream I was having and this physical event that I experienced. And I'm wondering if you had anything to say about these areas where these two kind of events intersect like that.
Indeed. It actually is very fascinating to understand the mechanisms or the mechanics, if you want, the technology of dreams in that way. Now, you may consider that during the waking hours, you have a waking physical life. And during your sleeping hours, you sometimes, often, or regularly engage in non-real, non-physical activities, perhaps the result of eating some bad cheese or something, as some are wont to explain it that way. However, your waking and sleeping activities are just a different point of focus. Just like you may focus on a car that is across the street from you. Or you may then shift your focus to a house that is at the end of the block. You are shifting your focus. In a similar manner, your present daytime focusing is onto what you have determined as physical reality and your nighttime activities as non physical. However, they are one and the same. The only difference is that the focus is into what you have labeled or determined or concluded is a physical reality, the real reality, as some are wont to call it. And then there is the sleeping adventure. But to the dreamer, what occurs in those events is as real as what happens in physical waking reality. The only difference is that the dynamics are a little different. The so-called laws of physics operate differently in the dream state. For instance, time dilation is prevalent in dreams. You could sleep for 20 minutes, and yet it will seem to you that you have dreamt for hours. You've had adventures lasting hours, or vice versa. You could dream for 5 minutes, but to you, it has had a different significance of time. So the time dilation is prominent in the dream state or dream time. The laws of physics are also quite different. It is very common for someone to experience that whilst in the dream state, they think they are walking down a hallway or down the street or the sidewalk, only to realize that they are not walking at all. They are perhaps hovering a few to several inches above the floor or the ground, or even being able to actually walk right through a wall. Or yet, better still, in your dream, you are thinking, say, of the room upstairs, and instantaneously you are there. So you utilize different dream bodies. They are nested. Various dream bodies, one inside the other, so to speak. So that presents a completely different set of physics that are involved in the manipulation of dream events. But there is something also very interesting, that time dilation in dreams often occurs in physical waking time, but you do not notice it because it is not as pronounced. Time and events are also nested, as is your personality. You think you are, for instance, operating under the same kind of personality you have always assumed you have. You do not notice fluctuations or even changes in your personality because they are so beautifully and intricately interlaced and nested. You naturally flow from one to another without any particular attention being paid to those kinds of events. So there is an entire literal field of psychology that is ignored by researchers. Some speculate that you can gain a little bit of information about how somebody thinks by asking them questions about their dreams. But it does not stop there. If you, for instance, begin to understand the concept of nested time and space that intersects with your physical and dream time experience, You can gain insights and a vast amount of knowledge about your very own unique personality traits and characteristics, as well as the source of those traits and characteristics, which would be the inner self. But because you are not focused upon those kinds of sciences and that kind of research, of course, your understanding of dreams can center more on the pathological side to try to find why you're having some emotional issues by looking at your dreams, which can help. But if you were to look at a broader spectrum of the dream and physical interlaced events, you would gain a tremendous amount of knowledge and wisdom about your own spiritual, psychic nature, not just as a creature that is little more than the assemblage of genes and proteins and whatever else. You are more than just a cellular structure. And even then, your very own physical cellular structure is also nested in such a way that if your beliefs were studied a little more closely, you would experience optimal health, optimal strength, optimal peace of mind, and the ability to manipulate your physical environment much more easily without necessarily complicating the issues simply by imagining so many problems that you think you have. So you could revolutionize the notion of human evolution. Not that you would become beings of light and so on and so forth, but that you would have a different and very unique, distinct relationship with all of your brothers and sisters in human and non-human form, because the animals and the nature in your world is also part of your brotherhood, sisterhood, and yourselves. Does this make a little sense to you? Or did we take it out of your realm of attention?
No, I'm following, and I'm also wondering, as viewers and people start to pay more attention to dreams and remember them, you kind of may start writing them down. Then what? What could some of the viewers and people do with that once they start to pay more attention to it? What can we do from a practical
Indeed.
standpoint?
Also, a very interesting question, and the practicality would astound you. You would actually get to understand your own inner nature. Most human beings function on default mode, a reactive default mode. You will begin to understand that you are more than that. You are more than the sum of all of your parts, and you have a rich inner dream life. As rich, if not richer, because you can, in the dream state, assimilate information from multiple nested events simultaneously. But you cannot do that whilst you are physically awake. It would overwhelm your senses and your filters. So, keeping a dream journal allows you to begin to understand what kind of escapades or adventures that you have while you dream, and how you deal with and understand the symbols that show up in your dreams. Is all the forms and all the actions and all the events are themselves beautiful symbols for your emotional states. So, for instance, someone in their dream life may recognize things such as perhaps why they are frustrated, say in their work life or their home life or their married life. The dreams can bring clarity and information and illuminate the individual to understand that, first of all, the conclusions you have made about life, your beliefs, could be the source of or the cause of your own struggles. They can also shed light on perhaps you're having a physical challenge, an illness, or some other problem. So your dreams might be able to shed light and bring you information as to why this has been created, or we should say, why you have created this kind of situation. And this is the small change. One of the other great benefits of keeping a dream journal is the study of your own spiritual, intuitive nature. Dreams are multi-layered. Dreams are not just about reducing an event to its simplest components or in black and white terms. They are multifaceted and they are nested. So you may think you have an understanding of a dream, and yes, you do. But revisiting the dream, perhaps weeks or months later, can show you yet other insights that you initially missed. And dreams will also reveal to you a high degree of premonition. And it is not necessarily 100%, because it could be variegated. And by that we mean you may dream, say, that somehow or other you have won a car. And this is just a random, out of the blue example we're using. But in real life, perhaps you may not win a car, but perhaps a relative or a friend is going to be selling you their previously used automobile. You would interpret the dream in a particular way, and it can occur physically slightly different, but still lead you to ponder about the nature of dreams themselves, just how intuitive, how filled with premonitions are dreams. And it could be mind-blowing. A record of your dreams over many years might be able to reveal to you a completely different understanding of the nature of reality itself. And as a small example, in August 1984, Joseph had a dream that he wrote down. Fast forward to February 2000. Joseph just moved, sharing an apartment with someone. And as he was putting his books on the shelf, he came across his dream journal. And he randomly opened the journal to read this particular dream from August 1984. And in the dream, it describes Joseph looking out a window slightly to his left and seeing a lake from the window. All Joseph had to do was move his head a little bit, and there was the lake that he could see through the same window. So your dreams have incredible capacities if you only allow them, but not necessarily by putting restraints on them, but by simply allowing them to flow. It could tremendously benefit your spiritual life. and give a new meaning to the very nature of what happens when you sleep. What do you do? Who are you when you sleep? Most people, after a while, will begin to notice that initially they thought they were the same old when they dream. But then they begin to notice different resources, different skills, different observations, different thinking patterns, which highly influences the waking self, which by now is dreaming and sleeping, but it helps to alter in a beneficial manner the different programs that an individual has set into motion. So it begins to embiggen. Do you understand the word? To enlarge the scope of the intellectual and emotional capacities of the individual. So the dreamer benefits greatly. It is a way for the self to grow that might not be available if it is strictly focused upon physical events, which in itself is a tremendous opportunity for growth. But bring in this other factor, and you have an opportunity to the nth degree. And it is not unusual for people to notice that when they dream, they can manipulate time, as we suggested, but they can also manipulate space. They can, say, be in Chicago and instantly find themselves in Hawaii, or instantly find themselves on another world or another plane of existence, if they are sufficiently aware in that capacity. They can recognize not only past lives, that we will prefer to call them other lives, which may occur in different time episodes. Some you would consider the past, some you might consider a different present moment, and some you might consider a future moment. Whilst in reality, they are all different spans of time and space. So the dynamics of physics in the dream state, in dream time, can greatly benefit your race, your species, and anyone who comes to this plane of existence. It can indeed advance your civilization. One of those ways is that you are in touch with multitudes of other selves, of your own other selves, that have their presence, their existence in many other time frames, some of which are possibly far more advanced than your present civilization. And you can, and this has been done, many inventors, many scientists have had great breakthroughs in the dreams. And they may not necessarily remember the actual events, but they remember what they came out of the dream with, a solution to what they were working on. Many inventors, for instance, have been stumped at a complete roadblock. They do not know how to proceed because they have seemingly reached the end of their logical capacity at that particular moment. They do not know how to proceed. They left it alone. They might have gone on a little holiday, had a dream, or they may not even remember, and they awaken with the solution in mind. Those kinds of eureka moments happen more than is reported. And even your wonderful Einstein suggested that the human imagination is unmistakably, and we are paraphrasing, but unmistakably important for the human experience. It is vital. So, in this way, many, many wonderful things can come out of simply keeping a dream diary. The best way to function is to note the date and the time. And there are different ways to suggest dream recall. We do not recommend that you suggest to yourself that after every dream you awaken to write it out. If you have 8 to 10 dreams that night, you will be up 8 to 10 times. And it will work, but you will be sorry for it the next morning for lack of sleep. Because what you think might be a few lines of writing could extend itself considerably as you remember the dream and write it out. So the suggestion is that you will remember your dreams in the order you dreamt them. And this in itself might prove very useful because, again, dreams are nested. One particular dream may follow suit in a different way, in a different way, and a different way again, giving you multiple angles of perception, different points of view. Doing it this way can also help you understand and say, all the first dreams of a Monday night seem to have a similar theme. All the third dreams of a Wednesday night might have a theme. All the last dreams of a Saturday night may have a theme that is concurrent or with slight variations. It gives you insights into the manner in which your psyche organizes those kinds of events. So definitely, it is a experience that we highly recommend keeping tabs on.
Yeah, and I know we are in the midst of exciting discussion. Hopefully, we can continue this into the next episode. I don't know. I think we're going to take a little break, though. Kris, do you have any final thoughts before we continue?
Since your waking and dreaming life is truly not that different, you can also learn to make a correlation between some of the dreams in the night with some of your daily waking activities. And that can give you deeper insights into the psychology behind your actions and the physical events. So it is not just about writing down dreams, but it is a study of self and self-awareness.
Yeah, and that's taken us full circle back to the original question. Now, for me, with some more insights into that, that's an investigation with the dreams is to, perhaps even some information about how our physical reality is then constructed. And yeah.
Indeed, it unravels the mysteries of the universe in ways that are rarely touched upon. And it also shows in the long run that dream events are the source of your physical reality events. But you will only discover that if you take the time to write them and explore them.
Right.
Now then, please feel free to take your break.
All right. Thanks, Kris. We'll see you in the next episode.